Hello, this is Jay Mitchell, and we're back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast. Let's get right into it. First, we have personal responsibility, free markets, and the Sunken Submarine from Whittling Dan. That's a post from Twitter. Exact trash only. Grandmaster trash. Exact trash. Whatever. It's I can't read it. It's just a screenshot. I can't read just the username, I guess. So anyway, he tweeted, "If the rich wet man had simply worked harder, he could have afforded a safer vessel. We can't help every rich wet man lost in colossal darkness. Lest they start to look for handouts. The invisible tentacles of the free market will save the rich wet man." Of course, that's about the recent Titanic's submarine sinking. I think if you want to do that, I think you should be able to. But I think that stuff like that is inherently dangerous, and that's why people couldn't die. And I think the state. It shouldn't be the state's job to save everyone. And I think that's why we shouldn't be justifying authoritarianism when it's good authoritarianism. We shouldn't force these people to stay in if they didn't want to, because they wanted to go on an adventure and they knew it might have been deadly. So the thing is you can't justify authoritarianism because it will save people's lives, because people are going to die, and sometimes it's not going to be fair. Like, this isn't fair, and that's just how life is sometimes, though. You got to remember that. But people can die in any second, and you just can't prevent anyone's death. So you can't justify authoritarianism just because it's good authoritarianism. That's what I'm saying on that issue. Trump pleads for help from Congress as DOJ shares first classified documents evidence from independent.co.uk by Donald G. And yeah, I'd agree with that. The thing is that Trump. I think he's kind of corrupt like the rest of them. I know they're not going after him for the right reasons. Because this stuff they probably all do. But I think I like what this comment says by LXPFF. If the deep state exists, why would he beg the cheap state? The Congress. They don't have the ability to stop this. It's all the unelected bureaucrats and the DOJ and the other alphabet agencies who really are running it. And if they get, I think it's just feeder. But if they get Trump, they'll probably just give him house arrest. He'll probably just still be golfing all day anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I would say, I think it's just feeder. He'll probably still be the Republican nominee in 2024. It doesn't really. It's just feeder. They're saying, oh, we're charging you for the political equivalent of jaywalking. Everyone does it, but somehow it's a crime, and yet, they don't charge anyone else for it. It's like HRC. It's a two-tier justice system. HRC and Dems can get away with pretty much anything, but not Trump, because he says stuff that he's not supposed to say, and even then. Trump's probably on their side than our side, because he's doing stuff like starting the COVID regime, banning bump stocks, tons of stuff like that. Tons of good neoliberal bombing the Middle East, all the good neoliberal stuff, and they still don't like him because he occasionally says stuff that he shouldn't. That's the thing. It just goes to show in the age of social media, you need to agree with someone 100%. Or they'll come after you. If they only agree with 99.999%, they're coming after you for that. And I think that's really important to note these days. You ought to remember that. I had another post recently that says, the art of debate's pretty much dead. People don't care about discourse or debate anymore because they just want to circle jerk their own opinions. They don't want discourse because people, because I think people have the ability to control the culture and what more so than ever before in the social media, and what they want is obviously what culture they want to have, and that's why you see the death of kind of discourse, because people are just too into circle jerking whatever they want to circle jerk. Next we have Antifa is a Thing by Chloe Cash, and that's a video from YouTube video from, what's the username, card posting. And I agree, Antifa is a thing, and you need to have, I definitely think Antifa are violent, and I think it might be mostly federal entrapment. I just think it's kind of like the military branch of the Democratic Party. Like the Nazis had their paramilitary branch in the SA, the Republicans kind of have it in like the Oath Keepers or Proud Boys, and this is kind of like the Democratic version. I think Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, Antifa, they're all probably feds. So that's my fault on the issue. I think most political violence in the U.S. is probably feds trying to entrap people. Like they tried to entrap that guy with the FBI tried to entrap some kid with brain developmental issues recently. I saw that headline, and that's the problem. It's people. There are so many bad faith actors who just want to get you and throw you in prison for daring to question the narrative, and that's how our society is starting to look more and more like China by the day. Rules for thee, not for me. It's a meme from Ruin My Circle Jerk. It's the flower from Cuphead, and in the top they're yelling, "Our Libertarian Uncensored Republicans peddle racist policies," and in the bottom they're doing the our Libertarians and Democrats peddle racist policies. When the Democrats peddle racist policies like affirmative action, it's the thing is that they frame our racism is good because it benefits minorities and the frame is good. That's why they have segregate. They say segregation is good when it's framed as protecting BIPOC, LGBTQ, or other marginalized groups. And I say that's not. I disagree with that. That's the thing is you can't question it because that's not racist. And if you do question it, they always bring up, oh, well, all the minorities vote for the Democrats. That's because I think the Democrats have the strong narrative control and on that issue, but I think they're slowly starting to lose it, and I think that's slowly why you're seeing a lot of minorities, be they LGBTQ, racial, people who might have disability like I do. They're starting to abandon the Democratic Party, and I think this is only going to get more pronounced as time goes on. So that's my thoughts on the issue. Marjorie Taylor Greene calls Lauren Boeberts a little bitch on the House floor from NBC News by Flimsy Out 5563. And of course, I think the more people, the bigger profile a congressperson has is probably the worse they are. Not according to policy, but just according to general attention seeking. We live in the age where the goal is to get social media on attention as any way possible. That's why I really don't care for people like MTG or Lauren Boebert or AOC or any of the ones who really get a lot of social media attention. I just think we should just, I like the ones who keep a low profile, like, lower profile congressman keeps is probably for the better, I would say. Moms for Liberty chapter apologizes for quoting Adolf Hitler in a newsletter from NBCNews.com by FlimsyOut5563. I think that sometimes it feels like they tried to almost on purpose make it look bad. I won't be surprised if there was some double agents in each of the parties trying to make them look bad on purpose. But they're pretty much a uniparty anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And I think the thing with Moms for Liberty is that I think they're not as bad as Reddit makes them seem. But I do think they're kind of authoritarians and how they want to control the curriculum. But then again, the Dems just want to control the curriculum as well. So that's why I personally not big on the school, because they all want to control the curriculum so they can influence the next generation. That's why I think we got to get rid of the schools, I would say, because the school is an innately authoritarian institution. Prisoner of conscience, anti-war, anti-colonial activists of Russian left resistance sent to forced psychiatric examination by fascist capitalist Putin dictatorship from proletaryukr.blogspot.com by Chi-Town20. And my thoughts on that are, I think Putin is obviously a huge authoritarian, but I think Zelensky's kind of authoritarian as well, and he did arrest, and his government's arrested people for criticizing his handling of the war as well. So I think, both of them are authoritarians. You can't justify authoritarianism just because it's good authoritarianism. Interview with a volunteer libertarian anarchist and Marxist in Ukraine. That's never Chi-Town one. That's from the YouTube channel. AV from the YouTube channel. It's Lundy Metin, and I really don't have too much to say on that. I think if you want to be identified as libertarian anarchist, you should be able to. I think that's kind of contradictory. Those libertarians want minimal government, while anarchists want no government. But I think you should be able to identify as whatever you want. That's my thought there. Then we have vile bodies how capitalist, fascist, cultists, and crooks spearheaded Russia's war on Ukraine from forfreerussia.org, forfreerussia.org by Chai 20. And I think, I think a lot of people are blaming the war in Ukraine. Russia, obviously, the U.S. and NATO for obviously trying to make Russia a little scared because, they said, oh, we're not going to go any more eastward, but then they started going eastward anyway, and they were going to take Ukraine as probably a member eventually. So I think everyone's to blame for the war in Ukraine, but, war is kind of an inevitability, and sometimes it's just you can't stop it. But hopefully we can stop it. We can stop this one eventually. And I shared a tweet from myself. I think the big problem with LGBTQ right now is that they just can't keep it to themselves. It's good to be proud of who you are, but excessive pride has historically been labeled as a sin for a reason. I listed that. And I said, fun conversation about in the comments of that, on the comments on that one. And I said if there were Christian pride parades, people crucifying themselves, I would say the same thing. I really want people to keep their religion to themselves and their sexuality to themselves. I think if people kept things to themselves, we'd have a lot better society than what we have currently, with people trying to really push their all their values on other people, and that's why I think we have such a toxic society right now, because everyone's trying to push their values on other people, and I don't think that's good. And I think the thing is, you can't question the LGBT community at all without them coming after you for it. Like, even if it comes down to stuff like, it used to be stuff like gay marriage and gay marriage and transgender rights and stuff like that. Now you can't question hormones and surgeries for children, or trans women and women's sports, because that goes against the narrative and they'll come after you for it. So I think this is only going to get more prominent as time goes on, and we'll see how it plays out. I think it's increasingly also needs to divide the proletariat, I would say, because now everyone's just too distracted by IDPOL issues to really discuss anything else, and that's why you can see Lockheed Martin and the FBI at the Pride rallies and sponsoring them, because they know they're using it to make themselves look better and distract from other issues. Republicans resurrect national abortion ban in time for Dobbs' anniversary. Republicans seem no longer care about the states' rights argument. From NewRepublic.com by Donald Key. And I'd agree with that. I personally am more on the pro-abortion side. I think people should be able to get an abortion if they can justify it to their own body. But I think, you see them trying to definitely overreach on that issue. Just like you see the Dems try to overreach on issues such as guns and a lot of social issues, I would say. The Republicans are trying to overreach on that issue. That's the thing, is they don't really care about the 10th Amendment and federal supremacy. They all care about is federal supremacy when it's convenient. And I did have another post recently that said, oh, they pretty much killed all the amendments except for the Third Amendment. That's the quartering the soldiers in the house in the houses without consent, and I think that is something you'd see thrown out as well if the U.S. was ever invaded. I think it's interesting. The Bill of Rights has become the Bill of Privileges, I would say, and it just goes to show you that the government can justify taking anything for you at any second, and there may be nothing you can do about it. So you got to stand up and for yourself while you can before they take your right to free speech away as well. Then we have "Woke Has No Meaning" by your state officer, and that is a tweet from Justin Barragana. A minute after insisting he doesn't want to overly politicize it because that's the left's job, Charlie Kirk then says the OceanGate CEO killed himself and his customers with wokeness. I feel like Charlie Kirk's another one of those guys who just tries to always go out of his way to make himself look bad. I think, he's probably one of the guys who is doing more damage to the Republican Party than anyone else. Yeah, arguably more than Trump, I would say, because Trump's at least old as hell. Charlie Kirk's pretty young, and I think that's kind of damaging, the Republican Party's image as well. I think, they should just, there's to be, I think social media, people should know when to shut up, I would say, and social media has shown that a lot of people really don't know when to do that. Multiple New Jersey school districts approve measures to out trans and non-binary students to parents, from LGBTQNation.com. I personally would think that this is a bit of an overreach, I would say. I would agree there, but, I definitely think, some parents might justify it, and I would agree, because, they could be living a double life. They could be saying, oh, I'm trans at school, but I'm regular at home, I'm, cisgender at home, and I think that is something that, is not is could be considered wrong, and that's especially when why I would say you shouldn't be sending your kids to public school in the first place, because they obviously shown they really like to push stuff like that. So that's my thoughts there. It's, and you can't ask questions about it without being labeled anti-LGBTQ, and I think that's something that's really scary, how they control the institutions and you can't question it. It's like, it's the left had their march through the institutions, and now they've completed that march, and now they control the institutions, so they don't want any more discourse on the issues, and they just say, shut up and listen to what I say, or else we'll come after you for it. So that's why I don't think we should be sending anyone to any institutions at all, because any institution whatsoever, is inherently authoritarian, I would say. Sanders unveils bill to force Pentagon to pass an order to return part of its budget from commondreams.org by a geeky username. And I would agree with that. Sanders, I did have some problems with Sanders. I think he's more of a grifter than he lets on, especially how he didn't call the vote on the Yemen War Powers resolution when he had the ability to do so. But, I do think this is good. I think we need to have the Pentagon pass an audit, because they showed that they can just lose trillions and trillions of dollars. No one will hold them accountable, because they lost trillions of dollars. They announced it, and then the next day 9/11 happened. So really makes you think. Roses are red, violets are blue. The state wants to enslave you. From Pat Brown Down. That's a picture of Boot, and it's not red versus blue. It's state versus you. I'd agree with that one. The state is inherently authoritarian, and even if I'd be hesitant, even if a third party like the Libertarian Party or the Green Party got power, that it still wouldn't be authoritarian. That's why I think we gotta abolish the state as much as possible and just have a voluntary government in its place, so people won't be forced to do anything they want to, as long as the NAP isn't being violated. Hillsdale professor predicts victory for students in an affirmative action case. Savages American colleges, from FoxNews.com. Over my circles work. I'd agree with that. The thing is that affirmative action is racist, even if they frame it as not racist, or good racism. But that's the problem with it. It's not good. All forms of racism, I would say, are bad, even if they benefit minorities, like affirmative action does. Supreme Court rules in Jones v. Hendricks case that innocent people must stay in prison, from Vox.com. And I disagree with that, but it just goes to show you the state can put you in prison even if you're innocent. It doesn't even matter if you're guilty or not. That's how bad it is. The state. It doesn't matter for what reason they can throw you in prison. They can kill you for whatever reason they feel like. And this just goes to show that, I would say. Submarine jokes and why it should bother you by Whittling Dan, and that's a TikTok from the TikTok cringe subreddit. And I think I think if you want to make jokes about anything, I think you should be able to do so. I think if you want to make edgy humor about jokes that might be too soon, I think you should be able to do so. I think if you want to make a joke about an active shooting, I think you should be able to do so. I'm for free speech. You should be able to make any joke you want, but you might have to be aware that joke might have social stigma attached to it as well. So that's something to remember as well. If you're trying to both sides Hillary's emails and Trump's top secret hoarding, that's a Ghost Archive article from Tom 13, and it's a Ghost Archive, I think, from Washington Post, it's Washington Post. Why wasn't Hillary Clinton also indicted? Trump asked, here's why. And I said, this subreddit defending HRC, real surprising, sarcasm. The thing is that HRC is as corrupt as Trump, and despite what her lapdogs at the Washington Post may say, and it's really not surprising that they are trying to defend her while going after Trump, because they have their agenda, and the media clearly has an agenda. And if you don't see that right now, then I would say you have drunk the Kool-Aid. Video undercuts claim Twitter censored pro-Trump speech before January 6th, from the Washington Post by Ninja Lover. I don't really have too much of a law on that. I think Twitter is probably going to censor whatever it wants, but that being said, I think it should be held accountable for its censorship. That's why I really like the release of the Twitter files. Is inherited wealth a fair way to distribute resources, or does it perpetuate social and economic disparities? From Capif.com. for Chi-Town 20. And I guess you could say that, life is very much like I'd say most of your life is probably determined when you're born and what social class you're born into. I do think it's really hard to move up and down in the current system, especially with how corporatist it is. And I definitely think you could argue that inherited wealth is unfair, but sometimes life is unfair, and that's just how life is. As Reddit crushes protest, its user traffic returns to normal. The power of tyranny on display. Yes, they own it, but it's their actions to make them tyrants. From BeastMag.com by China 20, I'd agree. You just can't have Reddit. They increasingly say it's your job to monitor subreddit, but it increasingly has shown that they have the ability to do whatever they want, and sadly, that's just how it is sometimes. Capitalist fascists crushing freedom of thought and speech. Florida professor ousted after criticizing Governor Ron DeSantis from MiamiNewsTimes.com by China 20, and this is what I was saying. The state can do anything to you. Pretty much anyone can do anything to you. But I don't think people should be fired for their political opinions. But if you do work for a public school and the people in charge don't like it, I guess you might have to be held accountable for that. And that's just sadly how life is sometimes. It's unfair like that. California Supreme Court repeals decades of rulings shielding police from lawsuits. Good news from SFChronicle.com. I mean, what did I agree there? I think you should be able to sue police or any government official you want. I don't think anyone should be above the law because the law is what the people make of it, not what the government says it is. Delaware town seeks to give businesses voting rights from Frosty Slawman, and I personally think that's a step too far. But that's from News Nation now, by the way. And I think that's a step too far. But it just goes to show you the state can give anyone it wants voting rights, and that's why the right to vote is inherently, I would say, authoritarian, because the state can determine who votes and who doesn't. And I think we're gonna wrap up there. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.